I think we're just creatively churning it out. And I think we do need to become more intentional about the music that we put out, particularly if we keep coming to into the scene and saying, I want my music to cross over. Well, how will it cross over? Wow, how? If you keep writing the same thing, and the thing that you're writing is congregational music or it is church focused, how will that translate into world music or mainstream music? So it's a lack of intentionality.
Yeah, and that whole intentionality about writing, I've always said it like, look, if you're a gospel artist, listen, if you're a gospel artist and you're listening right now and you wanna your reach to be outside of the church, like you want, let's just call it what it is, you want to reach mainstream sounds, mainstream audiences, it really is about what you're writing. You have to be very, very clever and smart about what you're writing.
GMIA identifies as a Black organisation, and we interpret UK gospel music as deriving from the African and Caribbean and American Black musical expressions relating to the Christian faith.
Is GMIA for you? Yes, it is, because I feel that GMIA is representing a music that has been influenced by African, American and Caribbean culture, that represents your Christian faith.
Delivered by a wide variety of creatives that incorporate the gospel genre and message.
You could be a musician, you could be a bloggist, you could be a stage director, you could be an artist, you could be a songwriter, and it's all these elements come to create the UK gospel music scene of 2020, 3, 4, 5 and onwards.
Like, subscribe and visit our website at gmia.org.uk. You can also visit all our social media handles at GMIA.
Affinity Xtra, be extra.
So the question on the table, or the discussion on the table, is around the sound of UK gospel. And can it be defined? Can't it be defined? I mean, I'm sure this will be the first of many conversations about UK gospel and the sound, whether we embrace it or we don't embrace it. We're trying to modify it constantly. Are we really owning it and all the rest of it? Got two presenters, two DJs in the room, and that's really good because you would have been spinning music for ages and known, you know, how much of UK gospel is commercially viable, how much of it you're playing on a regular basis, who you expect to hear from, what sound they're using. So yeah, anybody jump in, and because I personally don't feel like we can really over-define UK gospel because of the fact that we're in the UK and it's so diverse, so mixed up in various cultures, etc. And those expressions run into the music, whether you like it or not. But there is, I'll say obviously, but there is obviously a pull to a US sound very often. And, you know, I don't know how far that can really take us. You can't really sell US sound to US people because that's where they grow it. So yeah, just the conversation. How have you seen the sound of the UK develop or not develop, as the case may be?
Suppose for me, if I was to jump in first, I suppose before we even get into style, one of my issues over the years has been about the finished product and the quality, and that's been I think that's been my biggest gripe from the days when I did radio 20 years ago. People would send me items and say, would you like to play my stuff? Would you like to give me some feedback? And my first point for some people was, I don't really want to give you the feedback that you really deserve, because it's not really there. So I suppose before you get onto the sound, my issue in the UK, and we've moved on. I think we've moved on a long way. So, you know, going to modern day, I think we're getting there with many artists who are delivering consistent, good music. Yeah, what do you think to that, T?
Yeah, I kind of agree, because I think for me, and I've always said this, I mean, I started really getting into gospel music in the UK in 2007. So before that, I was on the whole, American and African kind of sound. And then when I started listening to UK gospel, I really enjoyed it because it was so diverse, because you had everything. You had the hip hop, excuse me, you had the hip hop, you had the kind of like R&B, you had the pop sound in, you had the contemporary, and I was just like, this is cool, this is fine. Like, and I've said this before in another interview, because some can't really name people and stuff like that, but anyways, kind of, they still have an issue with trying to define UK gospel music. And I'm just like, 30 years later, you're still trying to understand UK gospel music. Like, what have you been doing for the last 30, 40 years? Like, I don't understand. At the end of the day, you have to understand that music evolves. Music will always evolve. And I was thinking about this before we started this this episode, that when you look at gospel music, you look at the gospel is the content of what you're talking about, what you're trying to convey. The music part is essentially the music, the genres, the whatever style, the music style that you are comfortable delivering the message in. So if you're comfortable with delivering it in a pop sound or in a rock sound, in R&B or whatever, you do that, as long as the message is clear, it's concise, it's of substance. Do you know what I mean? So for me, UK gospel sound is it's a diverse sound. And Audrey mentioned that because of the cultures that there are in the UK, like, you have so many people from different backgrounds living in the UK, and that's what makes United Kingdom, because of the diverse people. So you're going to get people with lots of different influences. You're going to get the, those who want to do the American style influences. You're going to get the African influences. You might even get the European, the pop sounding. What else are you going to get? You're going to get the hip hop. You're going to get so much. You're going to get the Caribbean, the reggae. You're going to get that. So it's just a melting pot of different sounds. That's what it is. And people mix it up. They change it up. So people need to understand that, like, music will continue to evolve. It will always, but UK gospel should be done.
And then Harry brought up the point of quality. That's often an issue for DJs and anybody else working directly with artists, like myself. I've worked with a lot of artists, and sometimes they bring me material and it's like, oh, this is a do-over. It's a straight do-over because of the quality of it. And they need to take more charge of the fact that, your music is your core card. And if you're not hitting it straight on the first impression, then that's gonna filter through, isn't it? So that's probably why you're not hearing from DJs, or why you're not hearing back from getting interviews and all the rest of it. But the quality has obviously picked up throughout the years.
Absolutely.
I think some genres more than others have waded or resisted improving. So they've kept a more traditional sound they've not upgraded. I don't know how else to say it, but they've not really upgraded their sound.
You know what? I think we live in an environment, a church environment, whereby, I suppose, okay, let's track back a little bit. Do people actually buy music? How do artists? Different question, but if artists are going to make money or whatever it is, it's probably not going to be through the downloading and streaming of music. So if people are going to be listening to music, what age group is that going to be? Is it your 20-year-olds? Is it your 40-year-olds? Are people buying or even listening to the music as you would like? So on top of that, if people are listening to the music, what are they listening to? So are they going to be listening to a traditional sound? Do they want a more contemporary sound? Affinity Xtra exists to be on the edge, to be different. So the style of music that we may play within the station may not appeal to a lot of people. And I guess that's okay, because you know what your market is. But the point is, if artists are trying to appeal to a market, are they trying to appeal to the churched people? Are they trying to appeal to the unchurched, to the young? And so then does that then dictate the style of music that people want to do? Over the years, we've seen such a wide mix of styles. So I grew up in the 70s, and so I'm an 80s kid in terms of kind of listening to music. And I was thinking, of who are the people who I even heard growing up? There were, LCGC. This is talking from a UK perspective. There was LCGC. You had New Colours. You had Freddie Kofi. You had church choirs. And apart from that, it was all American stuff, really. Or Word Record Club, my parents used to be in, and you get Dana.
Yeah, man.
But so I suppose in terms of the sound, I think the sound has been, I suppose the UK market for me has been very eclectic. The style has been very eclectic. But I don't think that's a bad thing. But actually, do we have something that's definitive for us?
Okay, what's okay? Can I ask?
There's nothing wrong with saying UK is eclectic. There's nothing wrong with that, because it means like you never know what you're gonna get. Do you get what I mean? Like I think it's fantastic. Yeah. And I do think, and when you look at it, when you look at the mainstream music and stuff like that, it goes through stages of what is hot and what is not. And it's okay for, depending on if you're, as a gospel artist, whether in the UK or US or wherever you're doing your music, it's okay to ride that, because at the end of the day, even as Christians, we are going to follow that sound. It doesn't matter. We will be on that sound. We will be on what is really good at the moment. Like you might want to hear more like, house music, at a particular time. Are there enough house gospel music out there? Do you get what I mean? It really is about like what's hot at the time and what's really raining. And the thing is, if you are trying to how he said, reach the unchurched or churched or whatever, especially if you're trying to reach the unchurched, you are gonna want to have to unfortunately cater to that type of sound that's hot, so that to pull them in, because that's just what it is. It is what it is. It's marketing. That's just how you got to do it.
I don't feel that people are focused enough about that. I think our music is
they're
quite
not,
insular.
No, they're not. They're not focused about
Harry was saying, Harry was saying, if you want to appeal to a particular audience, well, I don't think that, or a small percentage of people are thinking that way. Generally, we're just creating music because we love to create music. Nobody is studying the environment that they're in and looking at the sounds that are relevant and looking at, hooks that are relevant, studying what music is around, what songwriters are around, what songwriting methods are being used in order to capture audiences. There's very, very small percentage of people that are actually doing that. I think we're just creatively churning it out. And I think we do need to become more intentional about the music that we put out, particularly if we keep coming to into the scene and saying, I want my music to cross over. Well, how will it cross over? Wow, how? If you keep writing the same thing, and the thing that you're writing is congregational music or it is church focused, how will that translate into world music or mainstream music? So it's a lack of intentionality.
And that whole intentionality about writing, I've always said it like, look, if you're a gospel artist, if you're a gospel artist and you're listening right now and you want your reach to be outside of the church, like you want, let's just call it what it is, you want to reach mainstream sounds, mainstream audiences, it really is about what you're writing. You have to be very, very clever and smart about what you're writing. Let your faith be your foundation, great, don't forget that, but there are ways to weave in words to make sure that it's actually both reaching those within the Christian world and the non-Christian world. It really is about writing, and you have to get that writing right. Like I'm going to use an example, someone like Tori Kelly and Lauren Daigle, those two straight up Christians, but when you listen to their lyrics, sometimes a lot of the lyrics to some of their songs, faith-based, but yet they're in the mainstream, and that's how they became accepted. So it really is about how you're writing, what you are writing, what you are trying to convey, and doing it in the best possible way, so that
and understanding the audience you're trying
and
to
those,
as
exactly,
well.
and understanding the audience,
Understanding
exactly.
the audience, yeah.
Yeah, like like if you look at Mary Mary, when Mary Mary went mainstream with Praise You, yes, it was straight up gospel song, but if you look at the way that they wrote it, there wasn't much of the word Jesus in that song. Do you get what I mean? There wasn't what Jesus or something, but there are other ways that they praise God, but yet still got mainstream attention. Until today, sometimes I can be in taxis and that song will come on 20 years later, it's still a hit. So it's really the right thing.
No, I hear what you guys saying, but when I kind of almost case we're looking at quality more than the sound of UK gospel, and I think that we got to be when it comes to sound and something that T said earlier about we influence Harry Mack. I'm a few years after Harry Mack. I'm strong. I'm born in '70s, strong '80s upbringing, but I was influenced highly by the Winans and all these guys, Andre Crouch, vinyls, and fast moving music, and obviously everyone sees me as a hip hop guy right now, but ultimately, guys, and I totally agree with the quality. But I think what we have to realize is that my wife always says to me, the USA is a continent X amount of size. There is rubbish US music as well as good US music. It's just that they have a lot more people doing it. Yeah. And I think sometimes we measure how many quality albums that come out of the US compared to the quality albums in the UK. Also, you mentioned about, the sound of the UK. I think what's killed our sound in the UK is what's not killed our sound in the UK. Black music is the #1 music in the world, and the reality show is that black gospel in the UK, if we look at the sound of it, it's very diverse. I totally agree, but if you look at our output, it's very narrow. Yeah, it's very, very narrow. Why is it very narrow? It's because the narrative's been dictated to us. To be successful, we have to fulfill this narrative. Yeah. So for me, it's a case of the sound of the UK gospel is very wide, and we will talk it from wide because we play very wide gospel music on our own programming and whatsoever. But what we have to show is that there is a demand for the width and the depth and the full color of black music and the depth of gospel music. But the narrative has forced us that, the sound right now is, how can we fulfill a sound if we spend more time trying to follow a sound and try and do something that's not actually us? People say, oh, it's me. Really, is it you? Or is it really you trying to get more views according to the narrative that's been put down to us within Christian music in the UK? So for me, it's a case of, or even in the world, Christian music. So for me, is some of the things that has to be just, yes, we can say the sound is big, but also what drives the narrative of the sound that's being produced. The drill guys, the grime guys are banging out tracks from their narrative. They're going hard on that. But really and truly, whatever people are really putting things out there, the worshippers, a lot of are doing that. The Afro sound, that's really popular thanks to TikTok and all them things are just blowing it up out of the world. But then outside of that, one of our biggest, best rappers, SO, he's done an Afrobeats album. You know what I mean? So for me, it's a case of going, hold on a second, yeah. Yes, it's nice to do the genres that are popular, but he's talking about writing. But just the sound of our music, has it been dictated by what we've been told is popular?
But it's always been done like that, though. It's not new. It's nothing new. It is nothing new with the dictation of music. Like I said before, whether it's Christian or non-Christian, whatever is hot at that time, whatever sound is hot at that time, everybody's going to be on that. Like nobody's going to do anything different. Because if you're like, I think it was Audrey or Howard that said about your audience, like knowing your audience and stuff like that. If your audience is listening to a particular sound at that particular time and that's all they want, because I've seen artists and I've seen some artists where they'll be, and the people who follow them will be like, oh, you should do this, or maybe you should try this sound, and you'll find out when they do it, that track ends up being a very well, streamed song. So it's always been dictated from day dot, like, influence from the American side and stuff like that. So it's nothing new. It's the same thing that's happening.
So are you saying that artists are driven by the audience, not the other way around?
I disagree. I disagree that. I think the audience
is to what? Yeah, I'm trying to understand. Are you saying that we are playing to a particular template? Are you saying that depending on what the sound of the season is, that's what people are grafting to? Because I'm saying the opposite, in the sense of we're not actually analyzing what's going on in the market or even analyzing the audience.
When you look, I've been really looking at the music in the UK for so many years, for a good 5, and every time there was a particular time when house music was big. House music was huge, popular. Like soulful house. And do you know how many people jumped, really got into house? It's the same thing that's happened now. When you look at the Amapiano sound that's coming from South Africa, tell me which artist has not done an Amapiano song right now because it's hot. And it's the same thing. Like, okay, so you're not going to typically get like an R&B singer do something like hip hop, whatever, but they might do a mishmash or something. It's nothing. It's always been there for so many years. It's just now I feel like everybody's getting a revelation, like, oh, but everybody's jumping on. No, it's always been there. It's like, it's
you think that's true, Howie? Is that being your observation as well, Howie?
I think there's definitely just a mix. You know, you've got artists who will, I think there are some artists who will say, I'm going to, as it were, stay in my lane because this is what I'm comfortable because doing. And that's me. And that's, you know, they'll maybe have a particular market where they may have enjoyed some success over the years. And so they're going to stick with that. And so it's a case of, I think some will do that, but others will think, actually, I want to be more creative. I want to have a mix. I may be arguably seen as a soul singer, but I may do a little bit of R&B. Actually, I like the current sound of Afrobeats, and let me drop an Afrobeats track in there. And it may be an artist may say, actually, I've got 3 producers on my album, each doing their own specialism to be able to give me more of a rounded sound.
Yeah.
I think that's because, once again, we go back to that point of being diverse and being very, simply diverse. It's a very eclectic market.
But the thing is as well, you know, we talk about audience, but we had to show it. You cannot reach audience. The platforms dictate has dictated things for a long time. The major events, the major media platforms in the UK have dictated the sound to get played. If you can't get played on them or get a gig in these spaces, or even the churches, because I brought over a rap artist that wouldn't even get to the church. When Lisa McClendon came over here, the churches wanted to sing one particular song, you know, that worship song. Say, oh, you got to sing that song. I can't remember it now anyway. So yeah, you know me, but I'm more like her other stuff. But
holy.
You're holy. They said, sing that song and we pay you. I was like, yo, you pay more than me, you know what I mean, just to sing one song, you know. But the reality show is that basically the platforms dictate the sound in the UK when it comes to Christian music. That don't let
that's the same thing mainstream as well. That happens in mainstream as well.
100%. But the thing is,
because they have ready playlists, so
the lack of diversity for the platforms demand in the UK is way different. Now, you know, for me, it's more restricted within Christian music realm. And I talk Christian music because, you know, that's the platforms that we're trying to get to the major Christian music scene. You know, when I say major majority sound, you know, because at the moment, black sound is a very diverse sound that has a very small arena. And to get out of that arena, we have to almost feel like we have to be something that we're not. But the crazy thing is the audiences out there are listening to our sound from a secular standpoint. So our sound is in demand, but the platforms don't demand the popular sounds, just the sound, the narrative that's been given to us, if that makes sense.
Are you looking at this from the perspective, you know, let's go back to when we see major artists in the UK who are supported by a black gospel choir or a gospel choir, because they want a particular sound that is expected. Maybe is that the term to use? Expected,
and expected and expected.
Yeah, exactly. But actually, we've seen so many times where we are able to have a very wide appeal, because we've got the diversity, you know, from hip hop to Afrobeats to grime, whatever it may be, to R&B, whatever it may be, right across the spectrum. We've got the artists who can do it. So do we have a sound? I suppose the answer, my view, we have a varied sound, we have a mixed sound,
Mm-hmm.
and maybe because we have the width, but maybe not the depth. So there's probably lots of artists, but because no particular sound has been so dominant, you know, we know that the US, you know, a very strong traditional gospel sound and from a choir perspective, and then you're going to have, and then you'll also have a lot of artists who have a very strong, maybe an R&B element to what they do, and a very strong hip hop element. That's because they've got the volume in terms of numbers in artists, but they've got the breadth, but they've also got the depth because they've been doing it for a long time.
Yeah. Wow.
Okay. Yeah. So, what you're saying, we got the. If you're looking for a sound, if we're defining the sound, the reality show is you cannot define the black gospel sound in the UK, because it's almost a case of the narrative from a US perspective is basically a similar journey for everybody until about 10, 15, 20 years ago. In the UK, we got different journeys, different islands, different part of West, and I got friends from South Africa, East Africa. You know, I mean, them experiences have, and not only experiences, them cultures, you know, are bringing out different sounds, and we cannot marginalize them. And that's the thing is with gospel, with black gospel in the UK, is that basically we got more of a problem because we've got probably a very massive breadth of different cultures, black cultures that have different.
Is it a problem, Roger? Is it a problem?
What it is when
is it a problem, or is it something that we should be embracing? The eclecticness of it, we should be embracing.
When we haven't got the resources, it becomes a problem because you can't produce the.
I wouldn't say we've got to have resources. What type of resources are you talking about, though? Because then if you start saying resources, you'll be like, but there's things around that can be used. So what specific resources are you talking about?
I don't think we have the adequate resources. I don't know if that is there, because at the end of the day, so yeah, I've done what I've done.
Like
I have the finance, the true backing, the financial freedom to produce great pieces of art form. We have very controlled art form, which you do this and we'll pay for you. That goes onto TV channels, which is great. You know, take it on board if you want or not, if you're watching in. But ultimately, for me, still, yeah, if we were going to be ourselves, yeah, and that's something that I've said, is maybe a bit of a question out there. It's a case of we spend, we want to be really relevant to our culture, into our ethnicity, to our people, to our sound, to what comes out of us. But the problem is, what we're trying to fit into tells us to be the opposite. So how can we be the best at hip hop, gritty lyricist hip hop, when we have to put a soft boy hook on it? And how are we going to relate to our people? So we become grey music.
Soft boy hook? How do you mean?
He's saying
commercializing, I would say, make it suitable for
not commercializing, churchifying it in a sense to make it more appealing. Falling to the UK. So we're taking quite what is quite a strong genre and watering it down in essence in order to deliver it.
Sorry, sis.
Lost you there.
I'm not. Sorry.
Say again.
I don't know if I agree. I don't know if I agree if it's been watered down. Maybe some might be watered down, but again, like
the problem
this music is not meant for just our people. So it's going to be changed. So some people, just because it's changed, some people think it's watered down, but it isn't. Like if you want, like, look, at the end of the day, everybody wants to have a global presence, a global following or whatever. So you will do what's necessary. But you know, there are some people, yes, who might compromise on certain things, but then there are others that won't. Like I said, you just got to do a little bit differently. See what the rest of the world is doing and apply it. It's not everything you're going to apply. It's just some things. Like, you know, if we're always talking, okay, you need to be out there, you need to do this, you need to, but then you're saying, but you know, the church, this shit. But it's like, wait, pick the side. Because I think for me, for now, right now at this present stage, if you're an artist and you're coming out, you shouldn't just be looking at just your, okay, yes, you might want to, you know, set your base in the UK or wherever you're starting from, but look at the world globally. Don't just make music just for the people, for where you are. It's for the world. So, and if that means it's going to catch on in outside of like the Christian world, then so be it. Let it be. But it's about your vision. What's your vision for your song? What's the vision for your album? Is it just a church album, or is it an album that you want others who are not Christians to listen to it as well? So you're gonna do what's necessary in order for you to have that maximum exposure. Like I said, some might water things down, some might won't. Again, it's about how you really deliver it. It's how you write it. What are you singing about? What are you collaborating with? What the sounds like as well. Have a bit of everything for somebody. There's like mainstream artists always say, oh, there's something for everybody on there, which means the styles of songs. So you'll have a bit of everything on there. And it's the same thing with some gospel albums as well. You'll have a bit of everything. And that's fine. There's nothing wrong with it. I think the main essence of this is just that your faith, like where you're where you stand as a Christian, where your foundation is. Everything else, work your way around that.
So you don't think about Ayana, yeah? Let's just bring out the example. Ayana, she's a female drill artist, yeah? You know what I mean? So you would say to her, okay, be very careful with your sound, because drill is very limited and it won't really reach certain. You only see it's too strong for this. I just think you do you, do it at the best of the quality, be the best you can, galvanize the people around you, galvanize your youth groups, galvanize who you be true to who you are, so you can walk down your own streets and be proud of it. Yeah. Now, so for me, Ayana just came with some gritty album drill. You know, when I spoke to her, but the beauty of it, she had platforms she did 316 showcase platforms. So she had our platforms, let's say owned by Black gospel, platforms to utilize, and she's now featuring on certain stuff down London. Guys in London seeing her and said, yo, this girl's on it, this gritty, and she kept it real with herself. So that's a total opposite to what you're saying.
I don't know if it's a total opposite.
I think grime might not be the best example, because grime
exactly. Do you know what I mean? Grime is the big thing at the moment.
It's the most unapologetic genre. It is what it is. Take it or leave it. Yeah.
Howie,
go on, how?
Howie, what are you saying?
No, I think there's a mixture. I think whatever your style you want to do, whatever genre you want to go down, I think be the best that you can be. But and I think if you're going to be creative, if you are naturally a creative, but if you want to do R&B, is it going to be what I call church R&B? Or is it going to be what people may classify as being mainstream R&B? Are you going to come with a sound that you think is contemporary, or is it going to be something that's going to be hard hitting? And that could be simply because people have grown up in a certain, again, I think the word that Audrey used was expectation. You know, what is there an expectation that you'd only go so far, or you can only do so much? Or is it about saying, you know what, actually, I want my sound to be as good as anything out there. You know, and does that mean, one, if I can't do it myself, I will get the creative, the producer who can do it for me. Whether we not have the resources, I think we do. I think, are people prepared to put money in their pocket, or are they prepared to have the support? You know, I actually don't know how much an album would cost to create, right? I don't know how much it would cost to create a track.
And it depends on what you're doing. Like, you can just do an EP that might cost you a few grand. An album, it really depends on what type of people you're bringing on board to do this album. Absolutely, so if you're going to be getting a producer that charges, I don't know, maybe £600 per beat or for a session, then your album is going to be looking upwards towards, and you're doing like a 12-track album, sometimes they're doing 15, you're looking like over like 10-15 grand just for just one album. And then you have to think about your mixing and your mastering and all this producing and all getting it cleaned and everything like that. You're looking at up to 10-15K plus, if that's a thing. So it really is about what budget you have. There are people, if you want to make an album, you will make an album. And these days it is very easy. Now that everything is so digital, like, people can turn out an album within weeks when you have the right people. So when you say there's no resources, there's resources. People will find the money. There is always money. There's always money readily available, whether it's for an investor or people pull together, people do crowdfunding to get it. There's resources available for people. Exactly.
I don't know about
resources available for people. Like we don't have, and I think the kind of resources you're talking about, you know, labels, the way labels are, you know, you should go to labels to do this. But the thing is now, times are changing where you don't need a label to do anything what you would naturally get like 20, 30 years ago. Do you get what I mean?
Absolutely.
So there are other ways. There's other ways for resources to be available. Like me, as now, as a chairperson, I can go online and make a beat. All I need to do is download the pack, get a few equipments, learn how to do this. I've got a song. They've made it so easy now. So the resources are there. It's there. Like, then there's no excuse. And that's why you have a lot more artists churning out music on a regular basis, like every 2 to 3 months or even once a month, churning out music because the resources are there. And they don't need, sometimes you can do call-in favors, you know, my bro, my sis, can you do this? It's there. So in terms of resources that you said is not available, it's there. And there are quality. And before you say, oh, there's no quality, there's quality.
Okay, right. Listen, I want to kick off now. Right, so
there's quality. You can't say there's no quality, nothing in the UK, because I know you're going to come at that. I know you're going to come at that. So there is quality music coming out of the UK. So you can't, and if you try saying there isn't, I'm going to fight you on that.
This is right. I'm actually a producer. Yeah. So, but the people might not know me for this, yeah. But I actually produce. I've been produced from Cubase, SL. I'm a digital producer from the late 90s, yeah, till now, yeah. So I've been producing from the 90s to now, yeah. So I totally agree with you that the accessibility to technologies to produce music is available. But the problem that we have when I listen to my own station, Affinity Xtra, yeah, and I listen to not only UK but sometimes some of the dead music from the from America and the Caribbean as well, and Africa as well, because obviously we do black music, yeah. So sometimes what I struggle with is not the talent that's produced. It's like we're not around the right people to guide them vocally. You know what I'm saying? So you can have. You might not have it's the access to, because listen, you can have 20 grand. But you can still produce a whack album. It's at the end of the day, it's having the right vocal coach, the right, and pulling into resources. We have a very detached UK gospel scene and whatever, where we have the expertise. When I'm listening to some of these young people drop some vocals, I'm going, did he really do that as the hook? Who's next to him? Because the thing is, they missed the opportunity. Come on, man, you can't release that track with one harmony. Are you joking?
Well, Roger, just to jump on the back of what you're saying, I think on the back of what you're saying, I think, put it this way, if you send a track to T, if somebody sends a track to T, they will immediately get a reply. Let me be, if I can say this, T. If you send an email to Lady T, you're going to get a response back that she will review your track. There is no guarantee that your track is going to get played. So T and we should all be gatekeepers to make sure that the level and the quality of music that gets played on the airwaves is of a suitable quality.
Yeah, of course.
And I think that's going to be key.
Yeah.
You know, if things may slip through, or
100%, man.
Or things will get played, and we're thinking, okay, we'll give them a blind or whatever. But actually, we've actually got to sometimes start. You know, maybe I'll need to be a little bit more direct and give the relevant feedback and say, actually, you either need to go back and do what you got to do, or it was okay, but I'm not quite sure how it's going to fit in. You know, who's your market? You know, and all the rest of it. But I think people like yourself, Roger, people need and GMIA are here to be able to offer that feedback, to be able to offer the guidance, the direction, and say, actually, here are people who have been in the industry for a while, who know how to do X, Y, Z, and can support you to get a good product out there.
Simple.
Yeah.
Listen, one of the best albums
Definitely.
I'll tell you, the best album I've ever heard from the UK, and I'll say it here right now, is Priscilla Jones's album. Yeah, it's one of the best albums I've ever heard, but it's one of the most poorly marketed, poorly followed up album ever. It was the album is near perfection. I ain't heard nothing since or nothing before. Yeah, can touch it. Yeah, and that's just me. You know what I mean? When you just got a timeless album, that's timeless. But I felt that's a classic example of and hopefully she doesn't listen to me saying that because just a fan. But I do feel that that's another problem that we do have when we get it out there, we get it right. You know what I'm saying? We don't have to follow through with the product. You know what I'm saying? And there's been some great products out there that have not been followed through.
Again, I think this is let's big up Audrey here, industry developer. The whole the whole ethos, dare I say, is about being able to give you the stepping stone. Why try and rewrite something when actually someone has already written a book, and they can give you the guidance, can give you the direction, can actually put the arm around you and say, actually, that's not the way to go. Or if you want to do this, look at the pitfalls or look at the opportunities or options you have. Risk and reward. Yeah. You may want to go down this particular line, but actually, have you considered this? I don't think we can champion it enough. I remember there's a track that came to me and to T. I think I played it on my show, and T did it. I'm not going to say who it is. T said it doesn't sound finished. And actually, it was a good point. I heard it and I thought it was okay. And maybe I was being a bit generous because maybe I wasn't that ruthless. But T was like, no, I'm not playing it. Simple. But you know what? And it was kind of horses for courses. But it's a really good point.
Yeah. There is stuff I must say that I would play and T disagree, and it's
that line
on there. You know what I'm saying? So I know there's healthy perspectives on music, which makes it beautiful that people have choice. You know what I'm saying? So but the sound of UK gospel, you cannot say it's reggae, you cannot say it's Afrobeats, you cannot say it here is. There's no point trying to create a track to embrace the sound of UK gospel. It's represented with many tracks and we've got to embrace it. I think culturally we always try to want to define it to our benefit. I think it's time to let go and just let everybody be who they are, you know what I'm saying, and be comfortable in their culture and be proud of who they are and go for their sound. Whether it's if the youngsters want to do rap and drill and whatever, let them do it.
Do what you feel. I think as an artist, and if you're listening, you're watching, as an artist, like what I said, just do what you feel comfortable doing. If it's a mishmash of lots of different sounds, do it. If it's an eclectic sound, something that's not really heard, do it. And like I always say, and Audrey has said it, be intentional, but then also make sure that what you are singing is of substance. Like let's put everything aside. What you're singing has to be of substance. If it's not of substance, whoever's playing it, like the radio presenters, they'll know from the get-go they're saying it. Like what are you trying to convey here? Your message has to be very, very clear as to what you're doing. So the way you title your tracks, what you speak about, all that kind of stuff is so important. What you write about is so important. If it's not got substance, I don't play. And sometimes for me, it can be some of these big artists, and I've not played certain artists' songs because I'm like, there is no substance to this. Why should I play it? And I have to remember that that the people listening as well, they're trusting you as a presenter to give them the things that's good, that will be of benefit to them. And if that is not a benefit to them, then you're doing not only yourself a disservice, but you're doing your listener a disservice as well. So it's really important, like as an artist, know what you're singing about, and your writing has to be spot on. Take songwriting classes if you have to. There's master classes for doing that. You can do that. Have to collaborate with other people, in terms of what you want to write about. And always go back to the word now. Let the word guide you. Let the word guide you in what you're going to be writing, or the things that you're going to be writing about.
Now, that doesn't mean that you should pick a psalm and try and rhyme with it. That's not what we're saying.
I mean, singing to them or that new song. It's a great song.
Being lazy right there. Yeah,
this is creative. If you are a true creative, and the thing is, if you're a true creative, you'll know how to weave in psalms or proverbs or some of the scriptures into your music. You won't need to take out the whole chunk and then try and sing it. No, weave it in. And I think one of the people that do it really best.
David already did that.
And I think one of the people that does it really best, and I think he did it really well, was Todd Delaney. He really wove scriptures from Psalms and Proverbs into his songs so well that like, and sometimes today I'm just like, wow, like I can't believe he did that. And he did that fantastically. Go and listen to I can't remember, I think it was which album it was, but listen to it. It was an EP, and you'll see how he wove the Psalms and the Proverbs and Revelation into his music. It was beautifully done. Again, it's writing. It's just the way he wrote it and how he structured it. It was fantastic. So that's a benchmark to look at.
Yeah, and again, not all artists are going to be their bend may not be in writing, so they need to find a good writer. Your bend may be that your bend may that you may be able to deliver live or be able to great recording artists, but you need somebody to write for you.
Come on.
Yeah. So it's trying to get that mix, isn't it? Knowing where your expertise is and how you can build that into the bigger picture.
Absolutely. And I always used to say, like, I remember one time years ago, an artist came, who played me some music, and I said to him, okay, because he wanted feedback, and I said, cool. I said, well, I begrudgingly played it because I had to, because he paid money to for a slot and everything like that. So I said to him, okay, the song is okay, but I think in terms of singing, I think you're better off writing than you are singing. Find someone else to sing your songs. You write it, get someone else to sing your songs. You'll still get money. You'll still make money that way and stuff. So, and I watched his reaction, and it was like, he didn't really want to accept it and stuff like that. I'm like, well, where is he today? That's the thing. Where is he today? So yeah, you might not be a singer. If you're structured to writing, get someone else to sing it. And be ready for the feedback that you are going to get. Be ready for it. So yeah.
Cool.
Right.
I think it's a wrap, guys. I think it's a wrap. We're quite tame today, so I think it's a wrap.
Yeah, I think my key buzzwords here would be intentional about what you want to do.
Yeah. Yes, sir.
And do your best. And just to probably drop on what T said, actually, if your best isn't good enough, find something else to do.
Yeah.
What?
That's a whole podcast.
And I think that's the way to leave it. That's the best way to end it. Absolutely spot on, sir. Absolutely spot on. So, yeah. All right. Thank you guys for listening to our very first podcast for GMIA. If you have any questions, please do get in touch with us. We're on all social media platforms, GMIA UK. Is it underscore? I can't even remember now.
On Instagram it is underscore, but we'll put the on social medias.
Yeah,
below.
Just look for gmiuk.org.uk and you'll find all the details of us on there.
Thank you, guys. I feel honored to be a part of this podcast. So great.
Yep. It's been great. So how can we find you? Where do we find you and all the stuff that you're doing?
Well, if you go on Twitter at the Gospel Zone, probably the best way to do it there, or you can email me at gospelzoneinfo@gmail.com.
Sweet. Audrey
what? Audrey's well busy, so you can't find me anywhere right now.
Audrey?
Oh no, really. Yeah, so yeah, so the best place to contact me or to find my services are industrydeveloper.com, but the bulk of my work is with GMIA, with the Gospel Music Industry Alliance, which is gmia.org.uk, where you can find resources and get support for your projects and your career development, your personal development as well. We have lots of different programs, courses, and contacts that we can link you with. Take a look.
Awesome. Mr. Moore?
Oh, but where to catch me? Which one? Now definitely mainly place you'll catch me is at AffinityXtra.com. I do number stuff with GL360 Productions and do historical stuff. So there's some stuff that'll be coming out very soon. But just put Roger Moore, BG007 or Roger Moore UK out there on social medias and you'll find me.
Awesome. All right, guys. Until next time.
See you later.
Hey guys, go to our website at gmia.org.uk and please subscribe, because I believe it's really important that we actually subscribe to this network so we can communicate to each other, so we can develop a community online as well as offline. And we got different packages for this, so even if you want to tentatively kind of like sneak in, we've got the bronze packages, we've got the silver package, and we've got the platinum for organizations to plug into this. And even if you want a bespoke package, feel no way, go to the website, send us a message, and we're here for you to create something to grow UK gospel and even European gospel going on from this moment on.